James's hand froze on his phone. The color drained from his face in stages. First pink, then white, then a sickly gray that matched the marble floors he stood on. Behind him, Mom dropped her coffee cup. The sound of porcelain shattering echoed through the lobby like a gunshot. "That's impossible," Dad said, but his voice cracked on the second word. "This is the family business building. We've been here for 30 years. Mr. Richardson, James's boss and the company's CFO, stood in the executive elevator doorway. His expression was carefully neutral, the kind of professional mask you wear when watching a car crash in slow motion. "Mr. Parker, your daughter purchased this building from the previous ownership group 6 years ago. Your company has been her tenant since 2019. I said nothing. Just stood there with my phone still raised, the digital key glowing on the screen. The executive entrance had unlocked with a soft beep and a green light. That same entrance James had just locked me out of 5 minutes ago. "Claire doesn't have that kind of money," Mom said. She'd recovered enough to sound indignant. "She works in IT. She makes what, $60,000 a year?" 52, James corrected automatically. He'd always known my salary. Had thrown it in my face at every family dinner for the past 8 years. "Claire makes $52,000 a year. There's no way." "Ms. Parker's salary is her business," Mr. Richardson interrupted. "But I've just received an email from building management. They're requesting clarification on the lease renewal terms given today's incident." The incident. That's what he called it. Professional language for, "Your son just tried to lock his sister out of her own building." I had been 23 when I bought this property. Fresh out of college with a computer science degree, nobody in my family had bothered to attend the ceremony for. "College is for people who need it," Dad had said. "You'll marry someone successful instead." The building had been a foreclosure. 12 stories of 1980s architecture that everyone said was outdated. The previous owners had over-leveraged during the 2008 crash and never recovered. I'd gotten it for $2.3 million. Which sounds like a lot until you understand the property was valued at $8.9 million. I paid cash. Money I'd made from a piece of software I'd developed during my junior year. A cybersecurity protocol that 3 Fortune 500 companies licensed. Then 6. Then 42. My family never asked where the money came from. They were too busy dismissing my little computer hobby. James had called it that just this morning during the staff meeting. Claire's little computer hobby doesn't qualify her for building security decisions. He'd been lobbying to have me removed from the emergency contact list. Said it was embarrassing that his sister, who worked in basic IT support, had the same access level as executives. "I want this formalized," he told building management. "New protocols. Professional standards. No family favoritism." So they changed the codes. All of them. Every entrance, every floor, every secured door. James had personally overseen my keycard deactivation. Had smiled while doing it. "You'll need to go through proper channels now," he'd said. "Like everyone else." The proper channels. I owned the channels. Mr. Richardson cleared his throat. "Miss Parker, I apologize for this misunderstanding. If you'd like to come upstairs, we can review the lease terms and discuss." "Claire," Dad interrupted. His voice had that edge it got when he was trying to regain control. "If this is some kind of joke." "It's not a joke, Mr. Parker." Mr. Richardson's professional mask cracked slightly. "I've seen the deed. I've reviewed our lease agreements. I've been sending rent checks to Parker Property Holdings for 6 years. I just didn't realize." He trailed off, looking at me. "You use a management company. All our correspondence goes through them." Of course it did. I'd set it up that way deliberately. Gambler's fallacy, they call it in psychology. The belief that if you just keep trying, keep feeding the slot machine, eventually you'll hit the jackpot. I'd spent years feeding the slot machine of family approval. Thought if I just proved myself successful enough, smart enough, valuable enough, they'd finally see me as more than Claire who works in IT. But their narrative was more important than my reality. I'd realized that in Dad's study 8 years ago. I'd just closed the deal on my second property, a small office complex in the suburbs. I'd been so excited to tell them. Proud. Real estate. Dad had laughed. "Claire, that's not for people like you. You'll get taken advantage of. You don't understand business. People like you. Women like you. Family disappointments like you. That was my origin moment. The precise second I understood that I would never be enough for them. So I stopped trying to be enough. Started building something they couldn't dismiss because they'd never see it coming. The lease, Mom said slowly. Our lease is with Parker Property Holdings? Yes, ma'am. And Claire owns the building. The entire building. James finally found his voice. That's a 12-story commercial property in the downtown business district. That's worth $8.2 million in the current market, Mr. Richardson supplied. Though Ms. Parker purchased it well below that in 2019. The numbers hung in the air like smoke. $8.2 million. My $52,000 year IT salary suddenly seemed like a very deliberate choice. I want to see the deed, Dad demanded. I opened my property management app. Pulled up the documentation. The deed was right there, clean and clear. Parker Property Holdings LC. Owner, Claire Elizabeth Parker. Purchase date, March 2019. Purchase price, $2,300,000. Dad's hands shook as he held my phone. Where did you get $2 million? From my little computer hobby. The words came out flat. Emotionless. I watched them land. James's face did something complicated. You've been our landlord for 6 years? Yes. The company pays you rent? Your company pays market rate rent to Parker Property Holdings, which pays property taxes, maintenance, insurance, and building management fees. What's left over is distributed to me as the sole owner. How much? Mom's voice was barely a whisper. The building generates approximately $48,000 per month in rental income. After expenses, that's about $32,000 monthly profit. Times 12 months. Times 6 years. Mr. Richardson did the math faster than my family. His expression shifted from professional neutrality to something closer to respect. $2.3 million in profit over 6 years, plus property appreciation of $6 million. That's an $8.3 million gain on a $2.3 million investment. And you work in IT? James said. You sit in a cubicle and fix password resets? I work in IT because I like it. The salary covers my living expenses. Everything else is handled by my other income streams. Other income streams. Plural. What else? Dad asked. I could have lied. Could have minimized. Instead, I opened a different folder on my phone. I own 4 other commercial properties. 3 residential apartment complexes. And I have a 40% stake in the software company that licenses my cybersecurity protocol to 97 corporate clients. The Ghost Ledger. I'd started keeping track 3 years ago. Not of money. Money was easy to track. Banks did that for you. I tracked the other cost. The invisible prices nobody talks about. Missed celebration. Property purchase number 1. Cost. Pride, joy, shared accomplishment. Status. Unrecoverable. Dad had been watching basketball when I'd come home with the deed. Not now, Claire. This is the finals. I'd waited 3 hours. By then he'd forgotten I wanted to talk. Confidence erosion. 8 years of dismissal. Cost. Self-worth, family belonging. Status. Permanent damage. Every family dinner where James's accounting job got 45 minutes of discussion. My work got, still fixing computers, and topic changes. Time theft. Building security setup. Cost. 127 hours of unpaid IT consultation. Status. Never compensated. They'd asked me to set up their security systems. Since you know computers. Never paid me. Never thanked me. James had just locked me out of the system I'd built. Emotional labor, being the explainer. Cost. Mental health, authentic relationships. Status. Depleted, never refilled. Mom used me as her tech support. Her therapist. Her emotional dumping ground. Never once asked, Claire, how are you doing? The ledger had 47 entries. Each one a small death that didn't show up on any balance sheet. I'd titled the spreadsheet, The Ghost Ledger. Costs that haunt you because nobody else sees them as real. Mr. Richardson was speaking. Ms. Parker, given today's incident, we need to discuss the lease renewal. Our contract is up for negotiation in 4 months. I'm aware. The company would like to extend for another 5 years. We can discuss rate adjustments. No. The word landed like a stone in water. Everyone stared. I'm sorry. Mr. Richardson said. I'm not renewing the lease. Your company will need to find new office space by July 1st. James actually laughed. He came out strangled and desperate. You can't do that. We have a contract, which expires in 4 months, with a standard 120-day notice requirement for non-renewal. Today is March 3rd. That gives you 119 days to relocate. Claire. Dad's voice had shifted to placating. Let's talk about this reasonably. I've been reasonable for 8 years. I've kept rent below market rate. I've absorbed maintenance costs that should have been passed to tenants. I've provided courtesy after courtesy while being treated like I'm incompetent. We didn't know, Mom tried. You didn't ask. The procedural machine was already moving. I'd made the call before coming to the office. My attorney had filed the non-renewal notice at 8:47 a.m. Building management had received it at 8:52 a.m. Mr. Richardson's email notification had arrived at 9:15 a.m., roughly the same moment James was deactivating my keycard. There's a process for these things, Mr. Richardson said carefully. Negotiations. Good faith discussions. The good faith discussion would have been James checking with building management before locking out someone with executive-level access. Said he assumed. Just like all of you have assumed for years that I'm incompetent. We never said that, Dad protested. I pulled up my phone's recording app. Pressed play. Dad's voice from 3 weeks ago. Claire doesn't understand business. She works in IT. That's not real commerce. Mom's voice from last month. We need successful people only at James's promotion party. James's voice from this morning. Claire's little computer hobby doesn't qualify her for building security decisions. I had 17 recordings. Dated. Backed up. Transcribed. You recorded us? Mom looked betrayed. I documented patterns. There's a difference. The legal process moved like clockwork. By noon, the company had received formal notice. By 2 p.m., their real estate broker had started hunting for alternatives. By end of business, they discovered that comparable office space in the downtown district rented for $62 per square foot versus the $38 per square foot I'd been charging. The new space would cost them an additional $42,000 monthly. Plus moving expenses. Plus new build-out costs. Mr. Richardson tried negotiating 3 times that first week. Each time I declined through my attorney. Ms. Parker has decided to renovate the property for mixed-use residential conversion. The company's lease will not be renewed. That was true. I'd been planning the renovation for 2 years. Had architectural drawings. City permits. Financing arranged. The building would become luxury condos. Market rate, $840,000 per unit. 32 units. Pre-sold list, 27 buyers. James showed up at my apartment on day 6. I watched him through the camera before opening the door. You're destroying Dad's company, he said without preamble. I'm ending a lease. Dad's company is destroying itself by not adapting. The moving costs alone will set us back 2 quarters. You mean they'll set back the company James works for? Not us. You made it very clear I'm not part of us when you locked me out of my own building. I didn't know it was your building. You didn't care whose building it was. You cared about asserting power over me. He had no response to that. The consequences cascaded like dominoes. The company's relocation costs triggered a credit review. The credit review revealed that Dad had been using company funds for personal expenses. Nothing massive, but enough to constitute financial mismanagement. The board launched an investigation. James's position came under scrutiny. He'd authorized the security changes without proper verification. Had created a liability situation. Had damaged the company's relationship with a property owner during lease negotiations. His performance review in April was devastating. By May he was placed on probation. Mom tried the emotional route. Called crying. How can you do this to your brother? To your father? I'm not doing anything to them. I'm making a business decision about my property. If they'd treated me like a competent adult instead of an embarrassment, we wouldn't be here. But family isn't who shares your blood. It's who shows up when blood isn't enough. You haven't shown up for me in 8 years. The renovation began in August. I'd given them an extra month as a courtesy, though I didn't tell them that. The construction crew discovered the building had excellent bones under the dated exterior. The conversion was ahead of schedule by September. I attended the city gala in October. They were honoring local business owners who'd contributed to downtown revitalization. My name was on the program. Claire Parker, Parker Property Holdings. Dad and James were there. Corporate sponsors. They watched from across the room as the mayor handed me a Crystal Award. Ms. Parker has quietly transformed multiple properties in our downtown district, the mayor said. Her mixed-use developments have created jobs, housing, and economic opportunity. She represents the best of entrepreneurial vision combined with community commitment. The applause was genuine. Warm. These people knew my work. Respected it. My family looked like strangers. I sold the company's old building in November. The buyer was a development group converting it to residential condos. Purchase price, $12.4 million. After closing costs and taxes, I cleared $9.8 million in profit. I bought 2 more properties with the proceeds. One was a historic theater that needed restoration. The other was a small office campus where I could relocate my actual IT work. The job I genuinely enjoyed that paid me $52,000 a year because salary had never been the point. James sent one email. Subject line, "Can we talk?" I archived it without responding. Revenge isn't rage. It's patience sharpened into strategy. It's surviving dismissal so well that the people who dismissed you are forced to confront their own failure to see what was right in front of them. They wanted me small. Forgettable. The daughter who fixed computers and didn't understand real business. Instead, I became the landlord, the property owner, the woman whose decisions affected their bottom line. The security codes at my new office building are biometric. Retinal scan, fingerprint, and facial recognition. Nobody can lock me out. Not anymore. From the 9 properties I fought to protect, my future builds itself one foundation at a time.